We had a coal furnace in the basement, in the cellar, because we lived in the basement. And every morning he would go down and light it. At night he would go down and stoke it and do whatever he had to do.
Wow.
So he took care of that, yeah, yeah.
You lived in the basement of the building?
Yes,
How big was the building?
3 stories. There was a huge loft above us where there was a furrier, and then above that there was an apartment.
A what?
An apartment.
No, a furrier?
A furrier.
What is that?
Furrier. A person who worked on furs.
Huh. A furrier, of course.
Oh, is that a new word for you?
I
I
guess
thought it
so.
was a taxidermist or.
But this is someone that makes furs like to wear?
Yes.
A furrier.
Yeah. Furri, yeah, a furrier. And he had this huge place and he worked on furs, sold furs, repaired them, whatever, yeah.
It's a dying trade, I imagine.
No pun intended.
Oh, yes, yes.
Did you have any windows in your home?
We had, in the living room, in the front we had 2, nothing in the bedroom, which was in between, and then in the kitchen we had one, and then there was a door to the backyard. We had a backyard. And it was a nice big backyard. As a matter of fact, there was kind of a hut that was there where we would sometimes eat and stored things, that kind of thing, and then there was kind of a garden, not terrific, something with green and trees. And yeah, that was the backyard.
What was the location of the house? In what city?
Manhattan,
She
New
said-
York.
And it was kind of. Was it in a downtown area? Was it?
Midtown.
Were there a lot of houses and businesses around?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Actually, it was on the edge of what was called Yorkville, which at one time was the hotbed of the Nazis. But that was further up in the 80s. But 72nd Street was Midtown, Manhattan, yes, yes. Now it's a very desirable location.
Sure. Well, Island is.
And
What do you remember? Did your mom, when your mother was alive, did she cook?
yes,
Do you remember meals from that age? I was really young.
what I remember is at one point, apparently there was some kind of a couch that we had in the kitchen with everything else, and I was lying down with my head in my father's lap, and I guess it was Reggie who had baked a pie and came over to show him, and she, my version was that she dropped it. Her version was that I picked up my foot and kicked it, but I got burned.
Ow.
But my mother did cook, yeah.
So you would have dinner together every night, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I guess so. I really don't remember too much of my childhood because she wasn't well. She wasn't a well woman. She had apparently something wrong with her legs too. There were some kind of lesions. So they would bother her. And her heart was not good. So she just wasn't. And then she raised those 8 children and had 3 more. So it was a pretty hard
Pretty
life.
tired.
Pretty hard life, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
It sounds like you may have had the best relationship with your father. Or did your sisters have a really good relationship with him too? Or would you say you maybe had the best?
They did too. I guess I was the closest because I was there the longest,
Yeah, you were his caregiver.
yeah.
Did you have to care for him at the end of his life?
Well, he wasn't too well. He had a heart condition too, a pretty bad heart condition. And he, at one point finally, could not go up and down when we moved next door 3 flights. It was limited to once a day, and that was it. And some days he just couldn't make it. But
So then how did that end? Did he just one day, he just didn't wake up?
He was under a doctor's care, and then one day he called me at work and said, I don't feel well. So I came home and called the doctor, and the doctor said, take him to the hospital. And he knew. We took him to the hospital, and he died. That was it.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I guess he had a heart attack, yeah.
Grandpa lived with you at that time?
Yes,
So the both of you went to the hospital
yeah,
with him?
yeah, yes, yeah.
That is pretty fascinating that he was okay with you two together in his house. I don't know.
Only when we were married.
Right, sure. Yeah. I guess once you're married, it was okay.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Josh didn't stay at the house before we were married. As a matter of fact, he did. He stayed in my part, and I went to sleep in my father's room. But we didn't sleep together before we were married, no.
But how was their interaction?
My father used to call him Sonny.
Sonny.
Sonny. He really loved him. He really loved him very much. I remember before Pesach, you had to clean the house and get rid of all the chametz, all the bread that was around, and wash everything and make sure that everything was nice and clean for Pesach. And we would come home after work and do the cleaning and so on. My father sat there and said, poor Sonny, he's working so hard. He worked during the day. I said, what about me, you know? I did too, you know. No, poor Sonny.
Right.
No, he really was very, very fond of him. Very
Would
fond.
you say that you were more Jewish than Grandpa?
Than
in
who?
terms of than Grandpa? Than Josh, when you guys met, was it clear that you were both Jews? Was
Oh,
Grandpa,
yes.
he practiced?
His mother was widowed. She ran a kosher home. Oh, yeah.
So you both clicked with your Judaism because you both had kosher homes, you had similar
Oh, yes.
practices.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what were you doing in the Catskills?
It was a resort.
And you just found it on the magazines, or your friends?
Reggie had gone there, and I belonged to all kinds of clubs and things, and people had gone to these places and recommended them, so I did too.
You went with some friends.
No, I went alone.
You just went out for just a little getaway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then Josh was there.
yeah, yeah. He was there recovering from an appendectomy.
Oh.
Yeah, and so he was on leave, and then he used to play tennis, and then he played barefoot and got a blister on his foot, and he couldn't play anymore up there, so he was kind of laid up for part of his vacation.
And so when you left the Catskills, do you exchange phone numbers? What do you do then?
I gave him
Do you
my
write?
phone number, yeah, and he called me when we got back to the city.
How did he court you? What was the courtship like? How did it go? You know, like he called you, but then
he came over, and we would go to a movie, or to a museum, or just the park, and we made friends and had friends and visited with them. Even before we were married, yeah. I had friends and introduced him to my group, and he was accepted, and yeah, so we we spent a lot of social evenings with friends.
Is that social evenings like dinner and wine and conversation, or what is, or music, or
Sometimes,
games, or?
sometimes dinner, sometimes just for the evening, sometimes a party to celebrate a birthday, some other occasion or something.
Mm.
But mostly just being together socially and all of the same feelings, all of the same leanings, so that we were very compatible, very compatible. We had a couple of groups of friends that we had through the years that were very nice. Some later on when he was in working, we had some business friends too, and saw them socially. But in the beginning, it was just socializing,
Mm.
being with people,
Mm-hmm.
which is very important.
Did you guys have a favorite drink or a cocktail? Did you drink much?
Oh yes, we had I guess it was a New Year's Eve party, and I guess we were at someone's house, and my boyfriend was there too. He lived in Jamaica, which was in Queens, which was a distance away. The party, I think, was in Manhattan somewhere, and I had quite a bit to drink, quite a bit, to the point where I had to spend the night at this friend's house. He came and got me the next morning and took me home. But yeah,
What were you drinking?
rye usually.
Straight on ice, a little water.
Whatever, whatever.
Was that typical in that time for women to drink straight
Sure.
whiskey?
Sure, if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Or we drank rum and coke, Cuba Libras,
Yeah.
or whiskey, sours, cocktails, that kind of thing. But, or vodka.
You guys used to smoke cigarettes too, right?
Oh, yes.
Both
yes.
of you did.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Why'd you stop?
Josh stopped when the Surgeon General came out saying that they were harmful and so on and so on. So I continued for a while until I was ostracized really by everybody, because by that time everybody had stopped, and if I wanted to smoke, I had to go outside somewhere. I decided it wasn't really worth it.
Yeah.
And then I went back a couple of times when we moved to Teaneck, New Jersey. It was pretty stressful because we were buying a house.
So you went from living with your father to Teaneck?
From living with my father, we went to Stuyvesant Town, which was a project like Park La Brea here. It was owned by Metropolitan Life and very desirable. And very, very urgent for us because Arnold, we had Arnold 4 years after we were married, was a big, big fella. And there was no room for a carriage in the house, and we couldn't take it up and down 3 flights, so I had to park it a half a block away. I'd get him all dressed and out, and it would rain, there was snow or something, and it was tough. But we were able to get an apartment in Stuyvesant Town, which was great. So we lived there for a couple of years, but then decided we really had to get out because there was a law in Stuyvesant Town. Kids could not go on the grass. They just couldn't go on the grass. The grass was there to be admired, and kids could not go on the grass. And if he went anywhere near it, it was terrible. So we moved to East Patterson, New Jersey, to a garden apartment, because we couldn't afford a house at that point, and saved, and bought the house in Teaneck. Lived there for 5, 6 years, then moved here to California.
And in Teaneck was where Mom was born. Or was
Yes, yes. Actually, that was very funny too. I was pregnant and we were living still in Manhattan, and then we moved to East Patterson, and I didn't want to change doctors because I liked the OB that I had. And we arranged that when it was time for me to have the baby, he would induce labor, which was fine. We'd make a date and I'd come in. So we made a date and we went into Manhattan. But before we went, I had to buy a gift for a friend who had a baby. So we walked into the store and there I am with my belly, and the woman looks at me and says, "Oh, real, you look so well. When are you going to have the baby?" I said, "In about an hour." She said, "What?" I said, "Yeah." And so she tried to help us very, very, very quickly and get rid of us. And we went to the hospital and she was induced and it was fine.
Okay, I want to know more about the births because I've just been through these. So, do you remember both of your children being born?
No,
Were you knocked out
I was knocked out.
for both of them?
Yeah.
Was that standard back then? Pretty typical?
A lot of women went in for natural childbirth. I didn't choose to. I preferred.
Was that typical in your community? Like your friends, everyone was kind of, or why did you prefer that? You were.
Most of them had something to knock them out.
Mhm.
You went through labor, you were awake for that and aware, but when it got to the point of delivery, you had something to knock you out. It was fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't mind it at all. I welcomed it.
Were you told stories? Like, did he remember things? Was he in the room? Was it like that then? Or was he
No.
outside with like cigars
He
or
was,
something?
no, they weren't allowed in the room, no.
And did they take the baby away right after they come out and put it in the nursery or something like that?
Yes, yeah.